Regular session of the Carver County Board of Commissioners meeting to order. Join me in the pledge to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, thank you very much. On our agenda, 1.2, public comments. Anybody here that'd like to say a few words to the county board on an item that's not on the agenda? If it's an item that's on the agenda, we'll wait till that agenda item comes up. Seeing none, we'll move on to 1.3, the agenda review and adoption.
Move approval, Mr. Chair.
Motion by Commissioner Uderman, second by Commissioner Workman to approve the agenda. Any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Approval of the September 3rd, 2024 regular session minutes.
Move to approve as presented, Mr. Chair.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Fahey, second by Commissioner Lynch to approve the September 3rd minutes. Any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Community announcements. Commissioner Fahey.
Mr. Chair, thank you. I wanted to acknowledge a couple of retirements that are taking place. Congratulations to Julie Frick with almost 40 years at the CDA, was at her little retirement party a couple of weeks ago. Just a great honor for Julie, and just personally, Julie, thank you for everything you've done for the CDA. And also Judge Kane, over 39 years of public service. Her retirement party is this Thursday, so congratulations, Judge Kane. I also participated in a walking tour of the new boardwalk out at Baylor Park. It's just extremely nice. Please go out and check out the fall colors at the park right now and go for a walk on the boardwalk. I also participated in the All Commission on Aging event. It was at the Arboretum a couple of weeks ago, and in general, we need to do some reframing of aging, just how we think, feel, and act. As we age, we need to talk about the process of aging as building momentum. Talk about ageism as a challenge that can be solved. So that was a fantastic event to be part of it. And as we all get a little bit more gray hair and age gracefully.
At least you have hair.
Yeah. On September 10th, I participated in the Minnesota River Barge Tour. It was part of the Lower Minnesota River Watershed District. With this watershed, we need practical solutions for the water storage, water quality, and then climate resistance for this environmental gem, the Minnesota River. Also, Bountiful Baskets has a new location in Cologne, which is open. They have a new logo, a new mission statement. So definitely continue to do your support for Bountiful Baskets. And the organization as a whole has just been gangbusters with what they're doing with all the new clients that they are taking care of. And then just some statistics. The rise in food insecurity across our country, state, and county is unprecedented. Just this past July, Bountiful Baskets, they provided almost 1,500 food services in a single month, which was a sharp increase from only 400 some services just 2 years ago. So together we can make a lasting impact addressing food insecurity and supporting those in need through these most challenging times. Last week, my wife and I went to the Andrew Peterson fundraising, the historical farmstead out in Waconia. Just a fantastic event. The house looks awesome. It's now on the National Register. So thank you to Wendy and Jeremy and their staff for that fantastic event. Also, it is harvest season. So I want to remind people to slow down and be careful. And just some interesting little tidbits. Carver County is the home to 14 pumpkin farmers and 24 apple orchards, while Scott County has just 7 pumpkin farmers and 34 apple orchards. Both of these entities provide an abundance of opportunity to enjoy apple and pumpkin picking, along with ag tourism experiences while enjoying the fall colors and also the winter weather. This Sunday, the Young America Lions breakfast out at the Pavilion in NYA, you have an opportunity to order an omelet to your liking, also blueberry pancakes and more. It's 8 to 12 on this Sunday. Also, and I warned you, Mr. Chair, I had quite a few. It's been a while since we've been here, but I had the opportunity to go to Washington DC for 4 days. That was in mid-September, and just thank you to Southwest Transportation and also Primacy Group with the various meetings. We had an opportunity to sit.
Why did you go?
Well, basically for the additional funding for Highway 5. That was our message. We got the opportunity to sit down with Senator Klobuchar. Amy gave us about 12 minutes, which I think was incredible. We met with Emmer's staff. We met with Tina Smith's staff. So they're going to continue to work with us, and hopefully we can close that $25 million gap we have involving.
1 minute for each mile?
Yeah. Hopefully, Gail, we can all get that to come together. And then also, just another public announcement, October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. So locally, since 1980, the Southern Valley Alliance has served Carver and Scott County with direct support for victims, survivors of domestic violence. Their mission is to empower, protect, promote, and educate on all aspects of the impact of domestic violence. There are several ways to help support Southern Valley Alliance. One partnership is through the Purple Patch Program. Purple versions of agency patches from Carver and Scott County are available for purchase, with proceeds supporting the great work Southern Valley Alliance does. Remember, if you are experiencing domestic violence or have unhealthy relationship concerns, please reach out to Southern Valley Alliance Crisis Line and go directly to their website. That's it, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Other community announcements? Commissioner Uderman.
Mr. Chair, I see Firstman is in the audience. If Mary Kay was here, I'd say the same thing. You guys received the, I call it the Finance Trifecta Award. We see these things come through from time to time, but I did a little digging, and I think that we're the only county in the state of Minnesota to receive that award. Is that right?
It's been less than 5.
Yeah, it's an elite group across the United States, so congratulations to you and your team, and talking to Mary Kay and congratulating her personally a couple weeks ago. She also leads she's president of a professional organization, and it was just illuminating to me. She's just one example of many that all the extracurricular activities that our staff participates in, volunteer opportunities and otherwise. And national trend is about 50 to 60 hours a year of volunteer time for each individual. So if you extrapolate that out, 50 to 100 hours, collectively, we as an organization are putting 50,000 hours of volunteer time into our communities. I just think that's great. I'd echo what Commissioner Fahey said about Julie and Judge Kane. Close to a combined 80 years of service to our communities. Sit on the MELSA board as our representative. MELSA is the regional library system. 103 libraries roll up to MELSA, and we've had a very interesting 6 months. We changed a law, and we hired an executive director, which is fantastic. We've expanded the reach as to who could apply for that role. And the gal that's joining us, Shelley, is coming from Wisconsin, and so she will come on board next week. I don't know her last name because she's in the midst of getting married, moving, and taking on this role, and so we're looking for good things there. This particular MELSA meeting, we had all of our library directors present, which is great because all 7 counties have a library director at the table, which brings fantastic news, and we go around robin. It's been something I implemented when I was chair. And we had a great update this month. Jody shared with us that this month, every sixth grader in Eastern Carver County School District 112, which is the largest one, represents about 60% of the school-aged kids in Carver County. Every sixth grader and above will have a library card, county library card, which opens up access and opens up a lot of things to some of the catalogs that we have, including one-to-one tutoring services. So hopefully we can play a hand in closing some of those education gaps. Jody also outlined a plan to expand access in our libraries. If you look at it from an hourly perspective, our libraries are only open about 25% of the available library hours, and there's models that are catching on across the United States for expanded access. So we're looking into what that looks like and have it potentially implemented as early as April of 2025. And so it's been a long time coming, and it looks like we have a clear pathway to get there. Commissioner Workman and myself had a chance to go to Miriam Junction. We know that this has been a hot topic, but the connection of Scott County to Carver County, it's very expensive, but it will be a bike trail and walking trail that will connect the two counties, probably more to our benefit than others. We did contribute some county dollars into that, but it was good to be there for the opening. Senator Klobuchar joined us by phone, probably for about 12 minutes. Tina Smith also sent her congratulations, and it must be an election year because there was a lot of state electeds that were there. And so using those opportunities, a chance to connect with those lawmakers that you ordinarily wouldn't, a lot of the representatives in Scott County and others, and getting a chance to talk to them. One of the state reps in the Scott County area is the superintendent of one of the schools. And so it was very interesting to talk to him about what's working in their school districts for mental health and other things. And those are those chance opportunities that when you're there, especially when it's locally just down the road, to connect with those folks. They did a nice job with getting that kicked off. Again, it's an expensive project, and because you got the DNR and others involved, it's a time-consuming project as well. Had a chance to go out to Minnewaska Park too. It's the first time in 20 years we've done a significant refresh at Minnewaska. The dirt is being moved, the concrete is being poured, the playground set is going to be there. It should be finished in late October, including a zip line. So the Udermans will be there to see that happen. Super excited about today's conversation about master space plan. Super excited about the strides that we've made in healthcare. So we'll wait for some of those comments a little bit later. Passed it along to Dave and Nick. Chanhassen is testing AI as it relates to hiring practices and other things. And so it's cool to be upstream on some of that. I know Nick is too modest to share this, but I know he's been testing AI and a number of things in ChatGPT. And so this is what the future of our county kind of looks like. It can be scary in so many different ways. And I saw in California, they did not pass the law that would have been the first to put parameters on AI at a big level, but it's coming and we'll have to adjust to there. Thrilled to be invited to represent us at this our strategic planning and vision session this afternoon. So we'll be in Plymouth to do that with their consultants. Tom and I will meet with Victoria today on our quarterly review with the city. And then it goes without saying, but softball and basketball are alive and well, and want to do a call out to all the volunteers that have had hands in theirs. I had a chance to coach again this year. Head coach puts in a lot more time, but those girls are learning skills. And again, I've said it before, I'll say it again. I think that our softball girls youth teams were the fourth most youth teams of any city in the state. So there's three cities in the state that have more youth softball leagues. And I think it was something like 10 years ago, there was maybe 2 or 3 teams, and now we're up to 7 or 8 teams just at the 4th grade ranks. So we're a force for that. And we're actually, through my relationship with Greater MSP, it's looking like it's probable that we'll bring another sports complex here that's for profit. So stay tuned on that one. Couple more things. Screamtown is now open and alive. I had a chance to tour that last week before they opened. I'm not much for the scary stuff, but it is interesting to see all the people that come for this. It's unofficially deemed to be one of the top 3 scary places to visit over the Halloween. And I talked to somebody from Canada. They literally came down from Canada to visit Screamtown. Now, that's not my cup of tea. I don't really do that. But to think that they're attracting people from Canada and all over the place, it's pretty interesting to see that. A couple more things. Went and saw the film Reagan. I don't say that politically speaking, but I do say back in the day, 49 states agreed on a president. I don't know that we'll ever see that in our lifetime, but there were some perils of wisdom within that. It's worth seeing. And then finally, it's on our agenda again today, the legislative contract. I just wanted to note that Commissioner Fahey and myself sit on the Legislative Priorities Committee. We hired a lobbyist to represent us. We're going to renew that contract. And that contract represents us on both sides of the aisle. Tony, that's our primary person, works great across both sides, but he's a Republican. They also have resource on the Democrat side. And so in a hypersensitive political environment right now, I just wanted the public to know that we are well represented as it relates to our interests at the Capitol here in Minnesota. Thank you.
Other community announcements.
I'm good.
This is just about the end of summer, I guess you'd say, and hopefully getting towards the end of road construction. I mention that because we have a few road closures. One's a short-term road closure today on Engler Boulevard from about 10 o'clock to 1 o'clock. So short-term, most of us at the meeting here won't be affected because might still be here by then. We also have road closures on Pioneer, 101, Powers. Most of this is south of 212. You'll see the cones. They're doing a lot of mill and overlay. It's really nice when it's done, but it can be a challenge until then. It's been a while since I've received a lot of phone calls on a certain road project, and this is one that is affecting quite a few people, but like I say, it'll be really nice when it's done. We speak of high school sports or grade school sports. It's football time of the year. Chaska won their homecoming game last week, and Chanhassen has their homecoming this weekend. So be careful, depends on where you're driving. Just on a political basis, birthdays. Today is October 1st. There's a 100th birthday for a former president. How many people get to be 100 years old, much less to be president? So happy birthday, Mr. Carter, or President Carter, depending upon how you want to look at it. And then I say, this is October 1st. The weather is changing, you might say. And the fact that it's a political year, there's still a lot of hot air out there, and the humidity factor seems to be going down. So, and mentioning voting, you can vote right now. You can either get your absentee ballot or you can vote in person at the courthouse. So don't lose your opportunity to vote. So with that, that brings us to the end of our community announcements. On our agenda, we move into the consent agenda. This morning, we have about 23 items on the consent. I'll just briefly summarize some of them. We have a professional service agreement for County Road 11. We have another professional service agreement for bridge inspection. We have a final payment for county-wide seal coating. We have a right-of-way plot for Highway 11. We have an agreement for legislative services. We have a contract for IT. We also have a request for IUP, for a contractor's yard, IUP. We also have a request for a CUP. We have a computer cooperative software ratification. We have a stock child support officer. That's a short-term temporary on-call. We have a memorandum of agreement with Health and Human Services. We have a contract with Bountiful Baskets. Freshwater Church is requesting a CUP. We have a right-of-way acquisition for the 1114 project. We have a right-of-way acquisition on the Highway 11 project. We're making some initial offers. And then we have a right-of-way acquisition for Highway 18. We have some payment for construction at Baylor Park. HVAC replacement up at Public Works. A professional service agreement for Highway 18 Audubon area project. A TZD resolution grant. It's a towards zero death. We're hiring a half-time FTE deputy. A joint powers agreement for the Augusta Road project. And finally, our review of the Health and Human Services and Commissioner warrants.
Move approval, Mr. Chair.
Motion by Commissioner Uderman. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Lynch to approve the consent. Any discussion on that motion?
Mr. Chair, just a comment on 2.13 with Freshwater Church, and just want to thank you to Jason Melke and his team and the Planning Commission. They continued that meeting, and they were able to listen to all the various concerns, and things got worked out.
At the planning commission, everything isn't really passed all the time, the very first meeting. So sometimes things do get continued to get all the information out so everybody knows what's going on. Any other discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion to approve the consent, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Item 3.1, the CDA Carver Oaks Update and Agreement Amendment. We have Allison with the CDA new director. Welcome, Allison.
Thank you, Chair and Commissioners. Again, I'm Allison Strike, the Executive Director for Carver County CDA, here to talk about Carver Oaks. So the CDA strives to provide quality, affordable housing for residents of Carver County, and the proposed projects meet that need throughout the county. So the CDA was awarded $3 million towards new development. This additional funding provided leverage so the projects would score higher with Minnesota Housing. And it also lowered the debt for the projects regardless of how they are funded. So Carver Place closed on August 20th and broke ground the following week. It has a 12-month construction schedule, so it's slated to open for occupancy September 1st of 2025. This project consists of 60 units, 15 one-bedrooms, 32 bedrooms, and 15 three-bedrooms. All households will be at or below 60% of area median income, which is currently $52,500 for one-person household and $86,460 for a household of 6. With further income restricting to households at or below 50% of area median income. There will be 7 units of Section 811 rental assistance, and that is for households where the head, co-head, or spouse is between the age of 18 and 61 and has a disability. Households pay 30% of their income and the rest is subsidized. And then there are additional 7 units for high-priority homeless that will be funded with housing supports. Carver Oaks Senior Residence. Carver Oaks will be a 43-unit senior property serving households at or below 50% of area median income, which is currently $43,500 for a household of 1 and $62,100 for a household of 4. This project will consist of 32 one-bedrooms and 11 two-bedroom units. There will be 7 units of VASH funding, which is project-based vouchers for homeless veterans, and they receive services through the VA. And then residents pay 30% of their income towards rent, and the rest is subsidized. And for this project, we are awarded funding in 2023, and the land is currently owned by the CDA. So this is the current funding structure for Carver Oaks, subject to change until final approval by Minnesota Housing. Our GC did go out for bid, and we have received those bids back, so we just submitted our final workbook to Minnesota Housing yesterday. The CDA is currently carrying $241,257 worth of costs on this project, which will increase until closing. So on this project, we right now are targeting an early start of January 1st and looking to close with Minnesota Housing by March, no later than March 1st. The amenities at Carver Oaks, very similar to Carver Place. So each unit has its own washing machine and dryer. And they each have a magic pack, which means that each unit has central air and it's controlled individually by the household in the unit. Stove, fridge, dishwasher, and microwave. All units will be, I see a typo in there, wired for high-speed internet. And then there is 1 parking space included in the rent for each unit. Just like all other CDA properties, the property will be 100% smoke-free except for designated smoking areas. We have controlled access using fob systems, which allows us to basically shut off a fob if somebody loses their access to the building, so we don't have to worry about rekeying the building. Cameras, and then a community and fitness room. So as I just mentioned, again, We're anticipating an early start of January 1st and a closing by March 1st of 2025. The county funding will need to come in at closing as a source. We do have a 12-month construction schedule on this project as well, and then a 6-month lease-up schedule for our tax credits. Trails Edge Senior. This will be the second phase in Waconia next to Trails Edge South, which opened in 2022. Same unit and property amenities as Carver Oaks Senior and Carver Place. This project will have up to 76 units of affordable housing for 55 and better. As with Carver Oaks, it'll target households at or below 50% of area median income. The previous funding application included 8 units of housing support for high priority homeless. The land is currently owned by the CDA. And the total development costs at the time of application that we submitted to Minnesota Housing for the 2024 RFP was just over $26 million. Unfortunately, on this project, we received an early reject letter from Minnesota Housing a few weeks ago. They are only funding one project in the metro area, and we scored 1 point below that project. And I don't know what project it is. We won't find that out till December. So I had a meeting with our financial advisors, Eller, last week to look at other funding options. That last time we had Ellers look at funding options for us outside of Minnesota Housing, we did not have federal earmarks, and now we have $2 million in federal earmarks. So we're hoping that additional $2 million will help us fund it another way, whether it might be GEO bonds. We could go into MMB in January for sort of a different round of funding that goes through the state, or we may have to decide that we wait and reapply again in 2025. So that was what I just outlined. So the recommendation today is for Carver Oaks. We're requesting that the funding be released to the CDA for this project. And for Trails Edge Senior, we're requesting a timeline extension to the agreement to apply for an additional round of funding. So the action requested is a motion to release the $1 million to the CDA from the CDA Housing Project account for Carver Oaks project, and to amend the agreement by extending the obligation timelines for Trails Edge Senior to January 31st, 2026, pending contract finalization process.
Questions for Allison while everybody's thinking? I get just a simple question. The area income level you said was 62,000 for something like that for a family of 4. How big is our area that it's using for that comparison?
We're in the Twin Cities metro, so it's not just Carver County. It's
That's what I was thinking.
It's the statistical metro area.
Okay. Other questions at this point? Commissioner Fahey.
Allison, excuse me, thank you for the update and just being the liaison back to the CDA board. And you know it better than I do. It's just amazing on how long these projects take. And now with the additional information with the funding piece for Trails Ed Senior, all these little puzzle pieces that we have to put together and make them all come align. And you do a fantastic job at it, so keep pushing. And these projects only come together with the partnership with the various cities. If we don't have those partnerships with the city of Carver and Waconia, these projects would never happen at the CDA level. So, thank you.
Right, I should probably add both projects got points with Minnesota Housing and helped lower the total development costs because both the city of Waconia and the city of Carver have water and sewer trunk fee waiver programs that help with the development of affordable housing. So I should add that in here as well, just to make sure everybody is aware.
Are you planning, or is it possible to resubmit for that bid that we were so close?
We could, but we'd have to wait till next year. So the applications usually are due in July. So if we resubmit, the RFP usually opens in mid-April, and then applications are due in July. I think it'll be interesting to see if there is another way to fund it, just because the tax credit program and going through Minnesota Housing does add multiple layers of complexity from a compliance standpoint for our staff, and it does add costs because of just the complexity with the tax credits.
Thank you. Other questions? Commissioner Ruderman.
Appreciate your tenacity. I think that we always wait for this broken system to be unbroken, and you're navigating it well. So the fact that you're trying to find a different path, I love that. Do we have a concern that there's too much concentration in Carver versus, like to Commissioner Fahey's point, whatever city's participating? I don't see that we've had a project in Victoria, for example, or other places. Is this just the point in time, 20 years behind when we acquired land and partnerships, or do we foresee most of these projects being concentrated in Carver and West and Waconia as well?
No, this right now just has to do with the land that we have available, and just being able to make the projects work with what we have. But certainly, I think, with the housing study being done now and trying to get in front of, cities, I've gotten in front of quite a few. I have Chanhassen and Waconia coming up, and my hope is we'll start to have bigger discussions with other cities about what they want to see. But yes, right now, it's just because it's the land that the CDA happens to own already.
I know we did some refurbishment, I think in Cologne, is one of the projects. Is there anything on the horizon for a conversion? Because I know that we got really big projects as it relates to brand new and groundbreakings, and those are great. Is there anything on the radar for CDA from a conversion standpoint, converting an existing business, building or business to housing?
I think we're always looking for options for that. Yeah, I mean, I think we'd be open to that. I know we'll be having a discussion with, Waconia about some things that they want to be doing, with our spruce project that's already out there, although even if we redid that, that would potentially be new development. But we're always looking. We just bought, our board just approved at our last board meeting, the purchase of a townhouse in the city of Cologne. We've got the last Arboretum house that's supposed to be closing. Not that that's really conversion, but that's supposed to be closing in we just bumped it to November. But I think we're always open for those options. I think right now it's also just a capacity thing for us because having two buildings going at once is a lot.
Yep. Two more questions. One is, if we're not fruitful, or it seems not fruitful in finding alternative funding sources, and we're back at the table next year, and we're 1 point away, and seemingly if the one ahead of us gets funded, we would be the next up. Is there anything we as a board can do to help position us in the best way possible to get that through and utilize that $1 million that we earmarked for that project?
Specific to Minnesota housing. Unfortunately, it's a numbers game, which is too bad because without knowing what projects are going in every year, as much as I am happy that Minnesota Housing has a funding mechanism for us, the thing that's a little frustrating is that each developer always figures out how to back into the numbers, which leaves really no ability to be creative on your housing projects, right? Because it's all about the points. And honestly, we did everything we could to get all the points possible. I mean, there's a few things that we could do to get some more points, but when you don't know who else is applying. Now, Minnesota Housing did do something different this year where they did a list of all the projects and the projects were able to self-score. So you could see where you fell in the self-score. The only downside to that is your self-scoring and, how you self-score yourself is not always how Minnesota Housing scores you.
And last question, and I know it's not a CDA property, but it's in the space of accessible housing, is do you have any idea how West Creek is filling up? Is it full now? Or is that a question for somebody
I
else?
just heard somebody say it's full.
Okay.
Last time I talked to Dave, they were close.
And my understanding
Yeah, it's full.
is roughly 80-90% have ties or originated from Carver County. Is that right? Okay. Great. I'm glad you're feeling better today than the last time.
Yes, I'm much better. I was out for the whole week after that, but I'm much better now.
Great. Thank you. Thanks for being here. Yep.
Other questions, concerns? Question I really maybe doesn't concern the recommendation here, but you have 3 different projects. We have a 60 unit, a 43, and a 76. Why the difference in scope of projects? Cost-wise, is there a big difference, or why?
It's what the ability of what we have left to build on the site. So in Carver, we could only build 103 units. And so that's how we decided to break it up by 60 and 43. In Waconia, the city told us we could go up to 76 units there. But one of the things when I was talking to Ellers last week about funding is that, if we have to scale it back to 60 to bring the development costs down, we would be open to that, if that allowed us to get the gap down enough to potentially fund it outside of Minnesota housing, or maybe we'd be able to score differently with Minnesota housing if we were only at 60 units.
Well, thanks for that explanation, because I thought there had to be a logical explanation there, because these guys don't do things willy-nilly. It's, okay, we do have a recommendation, action request to release the $1 million to the CDA, and then to extend the timeline to January 31st of 26.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Fahey, second by Commissioner Uderman. On that action requested, any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Job well done. Thank you.
Thank you.
That brings us to item 3.2, Master Space Plan. Mr. Katavi. Nick, Assistant County Administrator, take it away.
Great, thank you, Mr. Chair, and good morning, Commissioners. Again, I'm Nick Octavi, the Assistant County Administrator, and here today to talk about our Master Space Plan. So just want to review quick the scope of our Master Space Plan. The objective is to build a realistic plan for both our current needs and then looking out long-term. When I say long-term, we look out 20 years to meet our space needs at a building block level. So this is not a detailed level. Again, it's a higher level, building block level that we looked at for the scope. We also looked at county-owned office spaces. So this does not include our libraries, our public works shop or storage spaces, our environmental center, et cetera. Really focused in on the office space. We had a study, we completed it pre-COVID, and then we needed to refresh it. We did so in 2023, and this was because of the changes that COVID brought to our organization and how we work. Really being more of a telework, hybrid organization versus before when we were in person. So in September 5th of 2023, we held a board work session. At that work session, Cindy McCleary from Leo A. Daly, our architect, presented the findings and recommendations of the Master Space Plan. I am trying to summarize that presentation, I think it was 20 plus slides, into a few bullet points here as far as, again, what our recommendations were at that time. And that was for the government center to demo the 600 building. So that's like where our Veteran Service Office is located. And then also what we call the 601 building, sometimes it's referred to as the Banana Building. And that is where like land management is located. So demo those two buildings and then construct a new 2 to 3 story building to meet, again, our current and future needs. Also, the plan calls for a full remodel of the building that we're in right now, where the boardroom is. And then a couple minor refreshes in the 604 and 606. That's the courts building and the sheriff's office. Then looking at some of the HHS items. For behavioral health, the plan calls for seeking a building or land to replace our facility in Waconia. That's the First Street Center. That's a little longer term. Then also explore potentially a family resource center into the future. Looking at the former Encore building, the plan would be to use that in the short term as a swing space. So as we're doing these remodels and these projects, provides a good opportunity to have that temporary space for staff. And then longer term, looking to refresh that, potentially for extension or different use long term. Then looking at public works, the plan would be to do light interior remodel of the office area, expand the break room and the sign shop, and then potentially relocate some of the non-public works operations to allow for future expansion. That would include like extension, like I mentioned, and potentially the bus office there too. So the plan is to focus on the government center for phase 1, which would include the new building and then the refresh of this building, or the remodel of this building that we're in now. The estimated budget right now is between $74 and $90 million to complete that project. Our initial estimate when we did the study back in 2023 was 65 million. At that time, we did not have a timeline in place. So now that we have a timeline in place, we can now escalate those dollars out. And looking at 2027 to 2029 for the majority of our costs for construction, we multiply that out, and then that gets us within that range. Again, we have seen quite a bit of inflation since that time frame. And then also the wide range that we have, one of the reasons is we have a lot of unknowns currently. We still need to refine how much space we need, looking long-term. It'll likely be a 3-story building, but the thought is we would have space shelled out for the future, but how much of that will need to be finished. So there's quite a few big assumptions looking forward, again, with the total square footage. Also, the backfill renovation. So when I say that, that means things like, since we're already doing work here, is that an opportunity or a time where we want to redo some of our other parking lots or some of our other HVAC systems while we have trades here and be able to get some economies of scales with our projects. Also, the start date and then how long construction will take will impact our project budget. We have developed a plan to fund the project. So looking, again, the majority of our costs will be in 2027, 2028, 2029, and I'll go through the time frame in the next couple slides. We decided to plan for the mid-range for the project of $82 million. Luckily, we will have some retiring debt that aligns with this timeline. And then in addition, we also are building up our levy over the next 4 budget cycles by $450,000, which is included in attachment A, to start planning for this, this cost and this bonding for the future. In addition, we will have some upfront costs, including architect, engineer, design, survey, et cetera, starting this coming year. So on attachment E of the recommended budget, we have $1.5 million coming from the year-end savings account to help fund that. Here's the project schedule. I do have a summary on the next slide, which is much easier to read. So we are looking to enter the pre-design phase this month, which will take us to 2025, and I'll get into a little bit more detail on that in the coming slides. From there, we would go to the design phase, and that would take us to August of 2026. And this is also where we will do more community engagement. We want to have something for the community to react with, but at the same time, we want to get in front of them while we can still make changes to our building for both our staff and our neighbors. Then from August of 26th to June of 27th, we'd be looking at relocation of services. Bidding in June of 2027. Then demo of the 2 buildings starting in September of 2027. With anticipated construction starting in January of 28. It will take over a year for the construction, so that'll bring us to May of 29. And if all goes well, then we'd have a move-in around May to July of 2029. Again, a lot of assumptions built into that timeline, but that's what we're looking at right now. The county would also, or staff would like to start developing some committees to help move this project along. We're proposing 2 main committees, an executive committee, which would include a county commissioner, the assistant county administrator, the health and human services director, and the property and finance director. This would be the primary authority body on issues related to the design direction of the building. Ultimately, of course, the full county board has the discretion. Then the planning committee, we'd have up to 10 county staff. And I outlined some of the staff that we like to have on that committee, and they would provide input and feedback on the building. In addition, we'd recommend having some subcommittees. These would be limited scope. They provide suggestions and input on the process. Some of the possible topics may include like buildings and ground, furniture, technology, security. It'd be a great way to engage staff in this process and lean on a lot of the expertise that we have in-house. So again, the next phase would be the engagement and pre-design. So with that, we would utilize as the base the space study that was completed in 2023. We would seek staff and stakeholder input on the project, and then really work towards affirming the square footage need of both new construction and renovation, and then deciding kind of that chess match as far as who goes where within our buildings looking forward, developing the phasing strategies, and then refining the budget cost going forward. So with that, Mr. Chair, the action requested is a motion to approve the master space plan, phase 1 project, including the schedule, next steps, committees, project budget, and appoint a county commissioner to serve on the executive committee. I'll stand for any questions. And I will state that our architect, Leo A. Daly, is unable to make it today, but I'll try to fill in on the questions.
We'd rather have you anyway.
Sure, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Just while the rest are still thinking, have we thought of getting input from the general public? All of your thoughts here have been all internal, which, well, it should be driven by what's people are here today, but any phase down the line, I mention that because by the time this is done, I will not be here, obviously. But general public, any input?
Yes, Mr. Chair, great question. Yes, we definitely want the community input, especially our neighbors, since we do live in a residential area. We want to make sure they're aware of the project and seek their input as far as what they would like to see here. So our plan is to hold a couple open houses where we can get input from the community and then also share about the project. And then, of course, we'll have a project website and contact information on there as well.
Thank you very much. Okay, open up to the board. Start the other end. Tom, anything you want to question at this point?
Yeah, that number keeps going up. I don't know. I'm not excited about it. I get the necessity of building things and needing new buildings and I'd love to get input, but I'm not sure the input anybody in the public would understand what's going on in HHS or anywhere else and their needs or maybe how sick that building is or not. And so usually those are good for covering yourself. But this isn't the part of government I like. Chanhassen is building a brand new city hall. Got a rec center on the ballot this fall. There's 110 or 20 million dollars worth of stuff. Throwing another 90 million on this down the road, and it just seems like it's gets to be a lot. So I think I'm representing those people who maybe want a little bit tighter government, but I do get it. This is an old building. This building is as old as me, roughly, right? 1962? 65?
65, that's the first.
I'm way older than this building, and but look at me. So, anyway, that's all I got.
Okay, Commissioner Ruderman.
Well, I think that we're getting to the point of what's the cost of doing nothing. Like, we can say we're not going to do it and save the political points and all the other stuff, but at some point you got to rip the Band-Aid off. And so I look at it and say, Hemsey's done a nice job of doing it responsibly. We have a budget plan in the last handful of years. We have a rollout plan. We've gone and sought the inputs of maybe not the people that can't grasp this, but we went to Wright County, we went to Scott County. You've talked to your peers in Hennepin and others who are doing these things and doing things well. I also look at the back of the room, and HR's here. Like, there's some people that don't want to host interviews here because the parking lot's cracked and it's not a great place to showcase. And we have to win with retention and attraction, and a building is a piece of that. And it's not an easy thing to do, and we have to plan for the future. And so I guess my only question, or two things. One, I'm not in favor of keeping the Encore building. I've said that before. I want to sell it, get rid of it. I think it's a money pit, and I think we should dump it as soon as possible. I think we can absorb the staff in different places in a better place. And then the question I had for you, Nick, is I know we've been using Daily for a while, and I think the last time she was in the room, over 15 years, we've touched this thing, I don't know how many times. When this phase completes and if we move on to the next phase, do we go out for an RFP? And is Leo A. Daly one of the people that could bid on this? Or are there multiple firms that take us to the next phase?
Mr. Chair and Commissioner, so I think there's definitely some advantages with staying with the architect throughout the process. We did do a competitive process at the beginning when we started the master space plan and did have, I think, a handful of architects bid on that process. So again, there's some advantages. And with that, I think we can also test the market as far as what's the going rate for an architect and make sure that they're meeting those needs. So I think, again, there's some advantages to stick with the architect throughout, but definitely we want to keep an eye on the cost.
Yeah, I would also be in support of word it the way you need it to give advantage to somebody that understands it, but not so much of an advantage that we don't have a public process. I mean, we're talking about a pretty sizable building. I don't know what the engineering fees or the architecture fees are. They're not the most significant piece. The overall building is, and so I'd favor us preparing a package to make it competitively available for others, so that we can get the best product. And if it ends up being Leo, great. There's definitely inherent advantages that we should consider in preparing the package. So those are my thoughts.
Commissioner Lynch.
Nick, has the city of Chaska been notified of our plans? Because I would assume that this is gonna be a substantial construction project, and it's all gonna come in by truck, and it's gonna come through, and you have to take out the old building, then you have to bring everything in on a new building. So it's gonna be years before it's all done.
Mr. Chair and Commissioner, I have had some initial conversations with their community development director about the project, including, building height, parking lot, some of that stuff, and gave a very high-level overview of what we're looking at here. And at that time, that staff member didn't express any concerns.
Okay.
Commissioner Fahey?
Mr. Chair, I think we definitely should move ahead. It's an opportunity to refresh what we have on this campus and to eliminate that old 65 building. I remember when my dad had his chambers up on the second floor of the 65 building, and he would bring 4 of us kids down here and lock us in the jail and go and do his work on a Saturday morning. So I remember that building well, and I would be willing to serve as the commissioner on the committee.
Okay. I had a couple thoughts or questions. First of all, you started out earlier in your presentation, since 2023, the COVID changed a lot of things. How many of our staff actually telework or use the hybrid? Any idea how many?
I know we have that data. I don't know off the top of my head. I don't know, Carrie, if you know.
Over half of our staff can utilize that? Just kind of curious. Obviously, that's the only good thing you might say that came out of COVID. It did give us some time, and we could reassess what do we need. And hopefully we come up with a better idea of what we need. My other thought is your budget obviously goes from 70 to 92. It's a huge swing. Hopefully we're high. I say that because you're using the inflation rate of 3.5 to 3.75. The feds want it down to 2. So just, and my other comment was, we're planning, I say we planned this. We weren't just lucky that we have some levy stuff that are coming due. Our bonds are coming due. So don't just say we just were lucky. No, this was actually planned years ago. We've been talking about this structure, the health concerns that building has. It served its purpose, and it's time that we do continue to move forward on this and get the right bang for our buck because we're all gonna be paying for it but we're doing the right thing. Don't just say that we were lucky. because
Understood, Mr. Chair.
It was planned. Um, um, oh, and talking about planning of this, we've scheduled increases to save up a lot of money to pay for these future bonds. We're starting today. In our budget for 25, that's already part of it. So anybody that thinks that, hey, we want to think forward, we want to do all this, we've already been doing it. And give Administrator Hemsey credit for looking ahead, starting to plan this. And so, hey, our levy, like most levies around, is going up. There's no question about it. But it is because of projects such as this that will serve us for decades. So it's forward thinking on this board's part by doing that. So anyway, back to the motion action requested, a motion to approve the master space plan, phase 1 project, including schedule, next steps, committees, projected budget, and appoint a commissioner. We do have a volunteer, Commissioner Fahey, to serve on the executive committee. Is somebody that want to make that a motion?
Mr. Chair, I'll make that motion, but I do want to exclude Encore if we can have a motion on that separately.
Let's keep the motion clean the way it is right now. After this, if you want to bring that up for a motion, we'll see where it goes from there.
Well, the motion, as you said, it would include Encore because that's what the recommendation is.
Correct.
So I will not make the motion.
Okay,
I will make the motion.
motion by Commissioner Lynch. I'll second that. Any discussion on the motion? And
Mr.
I-
Chair, I'm sorry.
And Minister Hampson?
I would add, the projected budget, we should include the dollar amount, now that I'm thinking about this, the 82 million. It's not the range, we're building an $82 million package in our annual budget. So let's have a specific number. And Nick, I was thinking, this approves the overall space plan, and we'll revisit issues like Encore and Public Works later. We don't have specific plans for them, but we are putting them on the radar screen in effect. We're aware that they have space issues. It's not like we're forgetting about them, but we're addressing right now this project, but the others are included in this motion to keep that in our master space plan.
So I'd look for clarity whether Encore is in or out of this motion.
Mr. Chair and Commissioner, if I could,
Yes.
for this motion, I'm looking for phase 1, which includes the government center, not the other recommendations that are
Okay.
built into the master space plan.
Okay,
And a clarification on that, Nick, has the board adopted the master space plan? Approved it?
I would have to go back and check on that.
Okay.
I think we, Mr. Chair and Administrator, I believe we were taking them as individual project. It was presented to the board. I don't believe that it was formally adopted. I think it was to move forward on the individual projects and bring those in front of the board.
so we will see that formally.
Well, you could do it today, Mr. Chair, if you wanted to follow up this motion and adopt the master space plan. Again, that's a planning document. It's not specifically saying we will tear down Encore or not. It says it's an issue. Just like with Public Works, there's not specifically defined projected budgets. Just like with this project, we would come back to you later with the more specific plans, including whether, Encore, for example, would be a tear down, and then what the budget is, et cetera, correct?
Looking over at County Attorney, Mr. Metz. Are you clear with what we're discussing?
Mr. Chairman, I am. It should just be clarified, whoever's making the motion,
Yep.
and restated to include that.
So in the motion, if we take the motion as it reads and it says projected budget of 82 million, is that acceptable to Mr. Lynch?
Yes.
And it's acceptable to myself as a person that seconded the motion. Now, continue, Mr. Metz.
I don't have anything else.
Okay. So everybody's clear on, this is the motion that is before us. with the addition of 2 words of 82, that's maybe million, depends on how you read it. Any discussion on the motion that is on the table? Hearing none, all in favor of this motion, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. So this motion has passed. Other discussion, Mr. Ruderman? You were thinking of something, or Nick?
I think we got clarity. I also think that these are, we've had a lot of robust dialogue about this over a couple of years, and there's been good concerns that have been brought forth. Nick, you've done a nice job of addressing them. I think it's great to have a 5-0 on this one so that we can move ahead and unified on this, because it can get contentious, and there will be community feedback on this one. So, thank you.
Anything else, Nick, that you would see that we should be discussing at this point?
I think, Mr. Chair, I think Mr. Hemsey brought up potentially adopting the findings and recommendations of the master space plan as a separate motion. If the board wants to consider that, they're outlined here as well.
Do we see that as something that we need to formalize as a motion, accepting the master space plan?
Mr. Chair, board members, I don't think that's critical unless you felt comfortable doing that. One thing to consider is boards change. We have elections. There's new members. Perhaps maybe you want to confirm that this particular board adopts those general findings. But again, there's so much work to be done for these other projects that they will get shaped and evolved as we continue to do research. So again, my recommendation, you don't have to do it. Let's focus on job one, which is the government center. We have a clear path on that right now.
Any other discussion on this topic?
I
Commissioner Ruderman?
think that Administrator Hemsey should commit to being here through at least 2029 to see this one through.
I think I will be.
This is a big step. I mean, this is a big step, and it's not just a simple line. We're moving in a direction that needs to happen, and I think staff should feel good about it. HR should feel good about it, and we have a responsible funding plan for something that, in contrast to some of the cities, as Commissioner Workman said, they're putting up double-digit tax increases, and they've got infrastructure that has been delayed. So we're addressing something that needs to be addressed at the right time. So thanks for all your
My
efforts.
daughter's engaged, so it might be 2040.
Hey.
Okay.
Time flies.
Weddings are cheap.
I've heard that.
Moving on, thank you,
Mr. Chair and
Nick.
Commissioners.
That brings us to 3.3 MOA with the Teamsters, AFNI, I should say, and on health insurance benefits. And with that, we have either Carrie or Mia. Mia's taking it away.
Yep, Mia today.
Take it away.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. I'm Mia Johnson, Employee Relations Business Partner, and I'm here today to present on 3 agenda items related to 2025 health insurance. From March through May, the county completed an RFP for group health insurance and group dental insurance coverage. And through this process, multiple self-funded and fully insured proposals were received and analyzed with the county's broker, Gallagher. Additionally, the results of the RFP were reviewed and discussed with the county's Health Insurance Labor Management Committee, which provides the opportunity for involvement of representatives across all bargaining units and non-bargaining employees. The RFP results showed that self-funded proposals did not provide a savings to the county for medical insurance. The most competitive fully insured proposal from Health Partners included a decrease to rates and a second-year rate cap in 2026. During discussions with the Health Insurance LMC, the committee indicated support to move forward with Health Partners' fully insured proposal, and we heard members express openness for a higher deductible plan option that would provide lower monthly premiums. A new higher deductible plan option may not be a good fit for everyone, depending on their unique circumstances, but this type of plan could be a preferred choice for many employees. On July 9, the county board approved a multi-year agreement with Health Partners for 2025 and 2026 fully insured health insurance. The total annual renewal estimate of $11.6 million is a 5% decrease in total annual premiums. A negotiated offer of a 7.7% decrease in total annual premiums was premised on moving the county's most popular HSA plan to an industry standard 2 times deductible of $3,300 for single and $6,600 for family. This plan currently has deductibles of $3,200 for single and $5,400 for family, so this is an increase of $100 for single and a family deductible increase of $1,200. It should be noted that the annual renewal amounts listed are the full annual cost of premiums. Employees in the county share the cost of health insurance, and county cafeteria contributions are negotiated with each bargaining unit. The county was interested in making changes to our plan options, plan structure, and premium sharing ahead of open enrollment, which begins on October 21. All of the county's collective bargaining agreements expire on December 31, 2024. The county is currently engaged in negotiations for 2025 successor collective bargaining agreements. As I stated, open enrollment begins October 21, not October 1, whew, that's today, and may occur before the parties have concluded negotiations for the successor bargaining agreements. At this time, 7 of the 10 bargaining units have agreed to a memorandum of agreement, or MOA, for 2025 health insurance. The MOAs outline plan design changes and cafeteria contributions to be effective January 1, 2025. The MOAs reflect several important negotiated changes in the county's plan designs and plan offerings. These include increasing the deductible on the county's most popular HSA plan to the recommended industry standard design with a single deductible of $3,300 and $6,600 for families. It also includes adding a new $5,000, $10,000 higher deductible HSA plan to meet employee interest in a significantly higher deductible plan that has corresponding lower premium rates. To ensure the number of plans remains reasonable, especially if the county decides to move to self-funded health insurance in the future, it was a priority to keep the total number of plan options to 3. With this in mind, and based on low levels of enrollment and participation in the county's HRA high deductible plan, this plan was selected for elimination. The county's third traditional option, referred to as distinctions plan or distinctions choice, will continue to be offered. The county has received feedback from current employees, job applicants, and the health insurance LMC participants that the county's family health insurance options were too costly. Benchmark market data also reflected the county's family health insurance was not competitive with the market with regard to the employee cost of the family coverage. As the county initiated the union contract negotiations process, a number of bargaining units also indicated the affordability of family health insurance was a top priority. The 2025 Health Insurance Memoranda of Agreement we're recommending for board approval today reflect the board's support to address these concerns and position the county's health insurance options to be highly competitive with comparable market data. Based on authority provided by the county board, the MOAs reflect the board's previously indicated support to make a significant investment in the family coverage to ensure employee benefits are a competitive component of the county's total compensation package. Although total premiums are decreasing, resulting from a competitive RFP process for the county's health insurance coverage, the county contribution toward family coverage tiers will increase substantially to achieve the county's goal of a highly market competitive health insurance package. With this significant investment, including county contributions that equate to 86% of the family tier premium costs, the employee portion of the premium costs for family coverage tiers will reflect very competitive rates. Additionally, it is recommended that the county increase its HSA contribution amounts to offset increased plan deductibles. The 2025 HSA contribution amounts outlined in the MOAs includes $1,325 for single coverage and $3,000 for family coverage based on an employee participating in one of the HSA plans over the course of a full year. With the significant shift in the affordability of family coverage options for county employees, it is anticipated more employees will elect family coverage options in 2025. The total actual county cost in 2025 is dependent upon the actual distribution of employee coverage elections. As you can see on this slide, the monthly cost employees pay toward family premiums will drop significantly across all family tier coverage levels, including the options for employee plus children, employee plus spouse, and full family coverage. Looking at the change in employee monthly costs for family coverage, comparing 2024 to 2025, the employee premium cost is approximately halved across all family tiers. This is due to both an advantageous RFP result and the board's significant investment to position family coverage competitively in the market. When viewing the employee monthly cost savings in the far right column and considering the annual total savings for a family, this is a landmark change.
You gotta highlight that in different colors. That's just, you could just gloss over it without actually, that's important.
Look at the far right. That's
Yep,
the amount
exactly.
everyone will save each month that's on any of those 3 family tiers. So the action requested at this time is a motion to approve the memoranda of agreement regarding 2025 health insurance benefits package with the following bargaining units: Teamsters detention deputies, 911 dispatchers, and TAC officer, Teamsters licensed management, Teamsters detention sergeants and emergency communication supervisors, AFSCME Health and Human Services, AFSCME Public Works, AFSCME Assistant County Attorneys, and AFSCME General Unit.
Okay, that's action requested number 1.
Yep, that's regular item number 1. for me.
Question, there's 7 listed here. What happens to the other 3?
We are currently engaging in negotiations with the other 3. If
They will be brought back to us when that,
they will be brought back when we have agreed upon memorandum of agreement with those units. Should we get to open enrollment, we'll have that figured out.
good answer, good answer. Question, Commissioner Workman.
Well, have we ever broken this out specifically from the rest of the contracts? In other words,
We're talking health insurance.
right. Have we always done it this way? We've kind of broken it out. It's not a part of the package. I mean, once we get by this, we still have a lot to negotiate, right?
Administrator Hemsey.
Yeah, this is typical, I would say. In some years, we have agreements in place, and Carrie can add to this.
Okay, Carrie, I knew I'd get you up here.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Commissioner. We have some years in the past broken out insurance, not every year. I think this year there were a number of changes that the county wanted to be able to achieve with regard to the plan designs and the deductibles, as well as the plan options that were offered. So we felt that it was a comprehensive package of give and take to talk about with the unions and set it apart.
Commissioner Workman.
Well, it just seems to me the whole package should be together. This is pretty generous compared to previous,
And just to review, why is it, in Commissioner Workman's words, generous? Because we knew from talking to employees and people that wanted to work here that we were probably not as competitive as we should have been? Is that how you're gonna phrase it?
Mr. Chair, correct. When we looked at our family employee cost, so not plan design, but employee cost on a monthly basis compared to benchmark market data, we were out of line on the family tiers. We're competitive on our single insurance, but our plus children, plus spouse, plus child was more expensive than our competitors, which we heard, like I said, we've heard it from employees, we've heard it from bargaining units, and we've heard it from job applicants who want the job at Carver County, look at our insurance and say, ooh, that's gonna cost me more than what I pay today. So on a annual, I mentioned where we were on a monthly basis savings. For an employee that's on that family tier in 24 and will stay on that current HSA plan in 25, it ends up to be about $4,000 annual savings to employees.
Tom, it kind of makes you want to go out and find a family.
well, it's not, and I'm currently, never too late. I've fallen into the single category, and we're getting nothing. So on behalf of all the singles employees, I want to get crabby about that. But I realize where we were and where we weren't competitive. If our labor attorney was in here, would I not want, with a generous, more generous benefit, not want to have that a part of the global bargaining? That's what and so that's not a question for me. It's how are we, if we're breaking this all apart, because we still have a ways to go, don't we, in the bargaining? So,
What's this memorandum of agreement obligate us to?
The 2025 cafeteria contributions, so the amount that will, and then the plan design changes. So this year, in comparison to other years where we could have gone with our current contributions, same plans into the next year as we continued bargaining, because we were making these plan designs, open enrollment, we have to have people make educated decisions during open enrollment. So with the plan design changes we needed to make for the future of our health plan, we had to move quicker this year.
So we're still gonna have a lot of heavy lifting to do in the individual negotiations, but this is at least the start, and hopefully if, I mean, obviously, these, unions have already accepted this MOU, so that should make it a little bit easier to move on to the next issue. That's my hope.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Workman, I also want to point out that part of this MOA is asking the unions to agree to raise the deductible amount rather significantly for the family coverage tier in our vastly most popular HSA plan. That's something that needs to be negotiated, secured through negotiations. Also asking the unions to agree to eliminate one of the plans that we have offered in the past, which is the HRA plan. So those changes are also subject to the negotiation process. And I also want to say that our labor attorney was involved in this process as well.
Well, and Mr. Chairman, I just want to say on the camera that to my wife, who found it interesting that I'm a single guy, only due to her Medicare age benefits, and so I just want everybody to be clear. I did kind of enjoy, as it was coming out of my mouth, it felt kind of funny.
Saying you're not on the market, is that what you're saying?
I don't remember, what's the market? I don't know what that is. Okay.
Commissioner Urderman.
Do you know what percentage of employees are not on a single plan like Tom, because he gets his free, so whether it's no cost last year, no cost this year? Do we know what percentage don't fall in the single category?
About 35% of our staff are not currently on a single plan. That's going to include people that waive as well, I would say. So 35 are on a non-single, on a family tier. Because our rates are dropping so much, we do anticipate significant movement onto the family tiers, and potentially some that aren't currently on our health plan at all, joining the health plan again.
So to those 35% of people that are either on the family, employee plus spouse, or employee plus children, their paycheck will look about $4,000 heavier this next year than previous year, all things equal. So if we look at it, if somebody's making, I don't know, $70,000 a year, that's a significant raise just based on not having to pay that premium. Are we getting high fives and attaboys and way to go, Mia and team, for doing the hard work to get there? Or is this just like, meh, let's talk about pay? Because this is significant and they're real dollars. I just don't want that lost.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Uterman, for those on the non-single tiers, yes, I think we are getting a lot of positive feedback. And from those on the single tiers that maybe have their families on other plans currently, a lot of positive feedback and commentary of, I really need to take a tough look this year, and maybe it's my year to come back to the county.
Yep. I know our budget is a little bit tricky on this one because the premiums that employees pay aren't included in our budget, right? So if somebody's paying.
Are included in our budget.
Are not.
Oh, wait a minute. What employees pay, you're right.
Correct. Yep. So if we look at what the county pays and what employee pays, I think last year we were roughly $13 million of total premium. Is that about right directionally?
Yeah, high 12 mil.
So if I look at reports, 2025 across the market in the state of Minnesota is looking to see an 8.7% healthcare increase. So if we took those numbers just easy, I know there's a lot of nuance, but that would take us from 13 million last year to 14.1 million premium this year. But as it is, we're actually taking a 5% decrease. So a delta of 13.7% in the favor of our community, our taxpayers, our employees. And so the delta between the 13 and the trend of 14.1 is north of $1 million. And the delta between the 13 and the 12.3 is about 650,000. I think in here it says that you're asking the board to approve more money. Is that because we're increasing the percentage that we contribute to the plans? And we're passing 100% of the savings and then some to the employee?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Uterman, to be clear, I'm not asking for more money today. This was already authority given to the board. But this is, yes, we took a significant decrease, which was to our advantage, but we are putting a significant investment into it by increasing the contribution on those non-single tiers.
Got it. And one comment and one more question. If staff is watching, past staff, current staff, future staff, somebody's considering a job here, this is great news. The only question I have is we've moved from, I think, bottom of the pack to somewhere. I don't know if it's middle or high of the pack. The next time we see it, can we get a sense for how competitive we are against our peers, maybe in Scott County, City of Chaska, others? And I don't expect you to have that today, but I know we moved in the right direction. I think we moved in the right direction faster than our peers. So I think that would put us in a way better position today than we were even a year or 2 years ago. I just don't have any way to quantify it.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Uterman, I would anticipate being able to give benchmark data Q1 probably when other counties and cities with comparable plans have their 2025 stuff negotiated and set. I'm in a lot of different user groups on the benefit side of things, and we're shooting emails around on a regular basis to try to figure out where we're at. And I think we might be the furthest right now coming here today with a plan for 2025.
I'd only imagine people would use us as leverage. Look what Carver County did. We want that, right? And it normally bites us in the rear end when we're talking about, oh, you know, Dakota County is doing this or Hennepin's doing that or blah, 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 blah. I think we'll be used as the benchmark on this one to be like, hey, look what Carver County did. Their movement from A to B. And so good luck answering those phone calls. Yep. Thank you.
Back to Commissioner Workman.
Well, the problem for the future interviewers is we still have a crappy parking lot. So,
We're fixing that too.
okay, let's get some blindfolds.
Is that in the budget? Commissioner Lynch.
It's all about keeping people here, and attention, retention, attraction and retention. So we've had people come here and look at our healthcare package and say, no, I can't do this. So that's what it's about. And compliments, you negotiated with 7 different unions, which is, as we know, no small feat. So congratulations. So
Commissioner Fahey.
Job well done, Mia, and your team as we continue to, as Mr. Lynch has stated, to try to retain our best employees and also to attract the best employees. That's the direction we want to go.
I'll follow up by saying, okay, it sounds like the county is saving a whole bunch of money. But I see back a couple slides, county additional investment estimate. We're spending another $500,000 on insurance this coming year than we did last year. So that, again, I'm looking over to Administrator Hemsey, is that figured in our proposed budget that you presented about a week ago?
It is, Mr. Chair and board members.
So let that be noted that in order to take advantage of the positive words that we're just hearing, that's all really already baked into a budget. There's a reason that the levy is going up, and these are some of the costs that goes with
Mr.
doing
Chair,
business.
could I add a couple maybe
Administrator
higher
Hemsey.
level comments? I look at that as an investment. One of our top goals is attraction and retention. And this was one of the top complaints that I've heard, not only from existing employees, but from new staff, which I can remember multiple staff or potential staff that just said, no. Once I look at the package, we hit our max salary, they look at the health insurance, and they go, no, I'm not going to take the job. That's a problem, and I think that's a cost. It's hard to grab onto, but a definite cost. So to me, again, I look at this as an investment. We can talk about other negotiation pieces in a closed session, but I see this as leveraging an overall contractual agreement, no doubt about that. But we can talk about that as we move ahead. But I do think it's landmark change. I think it really is, which I asked for this to be placed on the regular agenda because of that. It's not typical that we come in and spend $500,000 pre-global agreement. But again, I look at it from a different angle as an investment. I'm hopeful as we bring in more individuals into the pool, broaden that pool, hopefully healthier individuals, families, et cetera, that our ultimate rates go down, which is a win for everybody. And perhaps someday we reach the goal of becoming self-insured, where we are actually a good risk. And we can cut some of that marginal profit that's going to the insurance company and take that to reduce our overall packages moving ahead. So I see this as a real big, great win for both employees and the employer.
That being said, the motion to approve the memorandum of agreement regarding 2025 health insurance package benefits with the following bargaining units. Who would like to make?
So moved.
Motion Motion by Commissioner Ruderman. Is there a second? I will second that. Any discussion on that motion?
If I could, Mr. Chair, I'd like to thank Commissioner Workman for the clarification.
So noted. So noted. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion as said, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you for part number one. Moving on to part number two.
Moving on to part number 2, non-bargaining 2025 health insurance. So the County Board of Commissioners has the authority to establish and revise benefits for non-bargaining employees. Core benefits for full-time benefit eligible non-bargaining employees currently include life insurance, long-term and short-term disability insurance, and dental insurance. A monthly cafeteria contribution is provided based on the employee's election of health insurance. In addition, county contribution amounts for employees electing a health savings account, health plan option are provided when applicable based on health plan election. So similarly, the recommendations for non-bargaining employee insurance plan design and plan option updates to be effective January 1, 2025 include the same changes discussed in the MOAs for the represented groups. So the updates for non-bargaining insurance include increasing the current HSA plan deductibles to $3,300 for single, $6,600 for families to conform with industry standard plan design. Adding the new $5,000, $10,000 HSA, higher deductible HSA plan as an option for employees who assess this to be a good fit based on their personal situation and risk tolerance, balanced with the advantage of lower premiums. Eliminating the HRA plan and maintaining the distinctions plan. The 2025 county contributions recommended for non-bargaining employee health insurance are the same dollar amount contributions discussed for represented employees. Again, this reflects a focused investment to ensure that single health insurance continues to be covered at 100% and also brings the family coverage options figures to amount that equates to 86%. Additionally, it's recommended the county's HSA contribution amounts be increased to offset the higher deductibles and bringing the increases to $1,325 for single and $3,000 for family coverage. The recommended changes position the county's non-bargaining family insurance options to be highly competitive based on the market comparison data and reflects the board's support for making a significant investment in the health insurance benefits package. So as reflected on the screen, same as the represented employees, the monthly cost employees are paying toward family premiums will drop significantly across all family level coverage tiers, including the options for employee plus children, employee plus spouse, and full family coverage. Looking at the change in monthly costs for family, when you're looking at 24 to 2025, the employee premium cost is approximately halved across all family tiers due to both an advantageous RFP result and the board's significant investment to position family coverage competitively with the market. Again, the monthly cost savings for employees on that standard HSA plan, or our most popular plan today, are in the far right column. And considering the annual total savings for a family, then this is a landmark change. All right. The action requested at this time
And
is.
listen carefully, because I am not going to reread this. Go ahead.
I was hoping you'd reread it. Is a motion to approve the 2025 benefits for non-bargaining employees as outlined, including 2025 monthly cafeteria contribution amounts for full-time benefit-eligible non-bargaining employees based on the employee's election of health insurance, with $933.34 for single, $2,207.33 for employee plus spouse, $1,525.06 for employee plus children, $2,448.13 for family, as well as maintaining the $250 per month toward the cost of single health insurance for employees budgeted at least half-time but less than 0.8 FTE, and providing contributions for those electing an HSA high-deductible health plan option in the amounts of $1,325 for single and $3,000 for family.
We're open for questions, and I'll start with the real obvious one. What is a non-bargaining employee?
It would be an employee that doesn't fall into one of the 10 county bargaining units.
I just wanted to make that clear for everybody else. I appreciate that. Other questions, thoughts? Commissioner Uderman.
Mr. Chair, Mia, I know we expressed it as a percentage, but we're really committing to dollars contribution, right? And I'd like us to continue to commit to those dollars. Is there a path for us to lock these dollars in for more than just a year, 1, 2, 3, 4 years? So if we get any additional savings, we continue to contribute at the same level, but to bring down the rates further. And I know that two things. One, we get a reduction in the first year. The second year goes up a little bit. And I also know simultaneously, if we go through the words of Landmark, I think it's the first time we've been self-insured when it comes to dental. Is that true? Which is a huge step in the right direction because the organization gets to learn about it before we do it on the healthcare side. So could we is there an appetite from and I think the unions have to agree to it, non-collective have to agree to it, but is there a path for us to lock the contribution from the county in for multiple years?
Is
I'm gonna let
anything
Carrie answer this
negotiable?
one. It is negotiable.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Uterman, I would not recommend locking in specific rates for multiple years. I think we want to remain nimble and be able to respond to what we're seeing as far as the renewals and the options presented by our health insurance carrier, for example. The landscape could change, and I think we want to be responsive to that. When we're talking about non-represented employees, with regard to this particular motion, but when we're referring to bargaining units, there's typically deference to contract in effect, and it's typical that the contributions would not be generally reduced from one year to another. So the unions would look to the dollar amounts laid out in the existing contracts and reference that as contract in effect until we bargain new, updated, refreshed contributions.
Any other thoughts, questions, concerns? If not, the motion is before us. Anybody want to make that motion?
Could you read it again? Second.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Uterman, second by Commissioner Lynch to do what's in the motion. Any discussion on that motion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Item number 3.
Carver County Personnel Policy and certain collective bargaining agreements provide for the county to provide to counties, okay, I'm going
Easy
to start
for
over.
you to say.
Carver County Personnel Policy and certain collective bargaining agreements provide for the county to contribute to county-sponsored health insurance for certain retirees. Personnel policy indicates the board will set the amount the county will contribute to each retiree's insurance for the coming year. In order to qualify for the special retiree health coverage, retirees must meet the following criteria. They must have been hired as a regular employee prior to June 1, 2010, must be retiring from a non-bargaining role covered by the policy or from a position covered by a collective bargaining agreement referring to this policy, must have been employed by Carver County with uninterrupted full-time service of 20 years or more, must have attained age 60 but not yet be Medicare eligible, must have maintained county-sponsored insurance since retirement, must accept coverage offered by the provider of health insurance coverage to Carver County non-bargaining employees and the terms of coverage being offered to non-bargaining employees, and must maintain health coverage through the county. In past years, the county board has set the contribution for eligible retirees at an amount consistent with the cafeteria contributions for active employees. The recommended 2025 monthly contributions for retirees eligible for county-sponsored special retiree health coverage are $933.34 for single, $1,525.06 for employee plus children, $2,207.33 for employee plus spouse, and $2,448.13 for family, based on the retiree health insurance plan election. For eligible retirees, the county's contribution shall not exceed the coverage tier level provided at the time of separation. The action requested at this time is a motion to set the 2025 health insurance contributions for eligible retirees as follows, not to exceed the coverage tier level provided at the time of separation. Retirees selecting family coverage would receive $2,448.13 per month toward their insurance. Employee plus spouse would receive $2,207.33. Employee plus children would receive $1,525.06. And those electing single coverage would receive the lesser of the single premium amount, or $933.34 per month.
Questions for me? I'll start with the first one. How many former employees do we have that kind of fit this category? Any idea?
Yeah, as of today, we have 20 retirees on our special retiree health coverage.
Okay, And in the last two items that we discussed, it cost the county 500,000 in each of those categories. Any idea what this category cost the county?
This may be a slight decrease because I believe the vast majority of our retirees are on single coverage. Very few are on any of the non-single tiers.
Other questions for me?
Move approval, Mr. Chair.
A motion by Commissioner Uderman, second by Commissioner Workman to move approval of the action requested. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Seeing none, passes unanimously. Thank you very much.
I'll see you all later
good
this
work.
month for open enrollment.
Landmark day, huh?
Landmark.
And continued success on the negotiations.
Mr. Chair, oh, go ahead.
No, please.
I'll make a motion to recess as a county board and convene as the Carver County Regional Rail Authority.
Second.
That's a motion and a second by Commissioner Uderman. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion to reconvene as the regional rail, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. We're now acting as the regional rail. Sam, Parks and Trail Supervisor, take it away.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and members of the Regional Rail Authority. Good to see you. With you again here, as I was here, I think in June, maybe July of the year, with another permit request for use of the Regional Rail Authority property up in New Germany. Same permittee is requesting another permit. T Road Taverns, Joe Limmerman, if you know the name, is looking to conduct an event here in 2 weekends later in October, Oktoberfest. Some items to make you aware of, and as we back up, the reason why these items come before the board, both as the county board and the regional authority, is for one, good communication on what's occurring in the park system and on rail authority property, but also for the authority to issue the permit. And so in that regard, there is some items to make you aware of. There will be alcohol served at this event. The event, yep.
Oktoberfest?
Yeah, you
Surprise,
got to get there,
surprise.
Gil. It's going to be a large event, likely. Last year was about 1,000 people. He does suspect good growth in the event, maybe upwards of 2,000 people. There's an overnight component to the event. Their request is to use the Regional Rail Authority property for, I'll say, limited camping. That's spelled out in the permit. And so I'd say those are the two major items, again, just out of good communication transparency in terms of what's occurring on county property to make you aware of. Short of that, staff doesn't have any concerns. Last year's event operated successfully and safely and well. We will engage with our sheriff's office on this one to make sure they're aware, of course, of the occurrence, but they will handle it as they see fit in terms of, not a dedicated security presence or anything of that nature. But other than that, any questions?
Any concerns that this T Road Tavern has had in the past?
No, they pull a number of permits from us. This is, I think, their second year. They do the car shows on Thursdays. Those have been well-received and well-run. He does a rib fest throughout the year. And then now this is the second year with Oktoberfest. So the city of New Germany is involved in, of course, this overall event coordination. They issued the permit to T-Roads for this event as well. They issued it back in the spring, and this is one that's a little bit larger, so we wanted to spend time on it and make sure we had all the ducks in a row on this one.
Any
So
other questions, concerns?
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion for the issuance of the special event permit to the T Road Tavern for their planned Oktoberfest.
I would second.
Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you.
thank you.
Now we're requesting a motion to adjourn as the Carver County Regional and reconvene as the County Ditch Authority.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Commissioner Uderman, second by Commissioner Lynch. Any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Now acting as a ditch authority, Mr. Frischman.
Good morning,
Ditch-
Mr.
our
Chair.
Ditch expert.
I prefer ditch administrator.
Okay,
I actually have the experts in the room here.
that's good.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and board members. Dave Frischman, Property and Finance Director, also ditch administrator. We have a couple items for you today. with the main one being to appoint new viewers. We had a change in our viewers, and we need to go through the process of getting that updated. So there's a resolution in your packet, and I'd ask you to consider adopting that resolution for the county ditches, 2-3, 5, 6, 7, 9, and 10. Then, as part of the redetermination, the viewers found that 2 of our ditches, our county ditches, actually have benefits in neighboring McLeod County. So the recommendation is to convert or transition 2 of our joint ditches, County Ditch 5 and County Ditch 7 into joint ditches along with McLeod County. And the key thing that we need from the board for that to take place, which we would bring back to the board on October 15th, would be we need to name 4 members of the board to serve on that joint ditch for each one of those joint ditches. So we'd be looking for 4 names today, if possible, for each of those joint ditches. And then we'd have 1 from McLeod County.
Okay, explain to the public why 4 to 1? Why do we have?
As the attorney, I talked to the attorney, our ditch attorney on that, and he says normally it's 3-2. That's typically what the you know, how when there's multiple properties in a ditch system. Typically, they go 3-2. We do have one joint ditch 4 that has 3 Carver County Commissioners, 1 McLeod, and 1 Wright County. So they're different ways. Because the joint or the County Ditch 5 only has 1%, so it's a very small percentage that's in Wright County. And then joint ditch 7 or County Ditch 7, excuse me, was less than 5%. So they're very small percentages of properties in McLeod County. But because there's some, they need at least 1. So it'd be 1 from Wright County, McLeod County, and 4 from Carver County. I will mention that in the motion, I thought it was Wright County, but it wasn't, so I changed the body of the text. I cleared it was McLeod, but we should just be clear that the joint ditches will be with McLeod County. And McLeod County has named they'll have 2 different appointees for the 2 joint ditches. Schmaltz is for one and Kruger for the other. So just being a matter of the board identifying the 4 members so we can get it into the resolutions and get it all taken care of. So we'd formally adopt those 2 new joint ditches on October 15th. And McLeod County is planning on doing the same on October 15th.
Mr. Chair, I don't think I have any conflicts on ditch, so you can put me on whatever you need and then fill in the rest, because I know that there's been conflicts in the past and that has been the case.
Okay. And then the last thing is just an update or a timing for the public hearings for the redetermination of benefits. The county ditch, the public hearings we would typically do during a board meeting. So those would fit right into your normal schedule whenever we're ready to do that. But the joint ditches are, they're a little harder to schedule. And what we've done in the past, what we've been doing is on the Tuesdays, the second Tuesday of the month, when neither Carver County, McLeod County, or Wright County are meeting. We've had our joint ditch meetings, which has worked out relatively well, and been able to take care of business on then. But the next second Tuesday in November is deer hunting. The second Tuesday in December is the county meetings that you guys are already attending, so it doesn't work well. So it's just, I'm not really sure what to do, how we could get a Google Calendar and just go out there unless, but just looking for board direction and just an awareness of the timing. We do need to have 9 public hearings, 9 separate public hearings for the 6 county ditches and then the 3 joint ditches. So it's a fair amount of work, and we're gonna make sure we need to have board members here, but we wanna kind of schedule that out, so.
Hopefully when the ditch meetings occur, you can keep them back to back to back to.
Yeah, I did hear from the attorney that they did 17, and they actually have the public hearings, and they put them all at 9 o'clock. So they have 17 at 9 o'clock, and then they went through them all. So it was all, I'm not necessarily recommending that for us, but it's
So
something.
some of us have been part of joint ditches in the past, and that's how
Yeah.
the other county has.
Yeah, I thought they kind of separate them out, but
No, they keep them all, so you're.
it's more art than science on how we schedule these things. But I should mention, I do have Scott Henderson from H2O Overviewers here. He's going to just give it a few comments on where they're at in the process and a quick update. We also have Mike Wanis, who's our ditch inspector, so if you have any questions. And there has been a request for some work being done in one of our county ditches, and Mike and I are working on that. We plan on bringing that back on October 15th for a request for maintenance.
Okay, I've got a question for Scott. One of your viewers has moved out of the state and he excused himself because he's no longer, what, a resident? Is that what makes him not qualified?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair.
He didn't know he was moving out of the state? What happened? I hate that, maybe that's a personal question, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't want to speak for Brian and why he moved to Montana, but yeah.
Montana?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay, I thought that was interesting.
yes.
Okay. Any other questions for Scott?
No, I'll just give a quick update on the redetermination of benefits of the 9 systems. Been working with Mike. He's been sending us some landowner information, tile maps, getting those squared away. I think tentatively we were thinking at the 12th, but it's okay whenever the public hearings happen. We'll be ready to go before the 12th of November, so it doesn't really matter.
That was the tentative plan.
Yep.
Now we're not thinking there's more.
I will say though, probably after we had a landowner meeting first week in September, I think it was September 3rd, and it was well attended and some robust comments, we'll say.
Well, let's be perfectly honest, this is kind of something new for Carver County residents. They haven't gone through, I don't think, any ditch redeterminations. So it's a new, but if anybody has land in other counties, it's a regular occurrence, so it's no big deal once you know the process and how it affects you.
Correct. Yep. And as David was saying, yeah, we've been a part of those larger public hearings in, Murray County, 17, 20 some ditches in Lacaparo at a time, and not nearly as many landowners present as there were at our land meeting. So I think it's a good thing to get people aware and educated a little bit more.
And you have your phone number, so we can get it up? No.
People they already have my phone number, trust me.
Other questions, concerns?
Yes.
Commissioner Fahey?
Mr. Chair, I don't know if it was an honor or not, but I attended that redetermination meeting in the pavilion at the NYA when there were 200-plus people there. And as a popular phrase by Mr. Workman, that is not the sexy part of being a county commissioner, because it was robust, was probably a good word to use, Scott, but some of the emails and phone calls that I have gotten and I'll continue to get as we work through this process, and the key for me is the education piece.
Yes.
And I think how we ever do this, Dave, I know you and Mike and I have chatted with making it in a smaller setting with these smaller group meetings, because I think we got to control it, and I think we have to educate. And if those people start coming in the door, if we have 10 ditch meetings on one day and that lobby is full, and we're rotating them in here from ditch 1 to ditch 2 to ditch 3, I think it's just going to get away from us.
Yes.
And we're going to lose the education part of it. And so I think we need to be careful with that. And the November 12th meeting, I can personally make myself available for that meeting. I know that December 10th is that AMC conference. So most of us are going to that conference, I would assume. So those are the challengers that if we have to do it on a different day, we're going to have to do it. But I think we should make it into smaller groups.
Yeah, I would, after the landowner meeting me and David talked to, and it was pretty evident that we should break those ditches out. Not saying that we couldn't handle it, but it's a lot for you guys too, and a lot for constituents to come in and kind of wait around and listen to other folks get, fired up. And
Who's that famous attorney from St. Cloud, the ditch attorney? I think it's Ricky Noonan. Says whiskey is for drinking, water is for fighting over.
John Cobe.
Okay, well,
or Kurt Dieter, yeah, one of those two.
Weren't we doing something next Tuesday?
That was a plan.
Mr. Chair and Commissioner Workman, next Tuesday, we actually have a joint ditch meeting with our, the 3 joint ditches, 1, 4, and 5. that are part of the redetermination. And at that meeting, we're going to ask them to appoint the viewers, the new viewers, just like we're asking the county board to do for the county ditches.
Is that the remote?
There is a remote option for that. Yeah, Krista's coordinating that.
So at this point, you're asking for a second amendment to the findings and order appointing viewers resolution for the redetermination of ditch benefits for county ditches 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10, and adopt a resolution to create a new joint ditch with McLeod County for county ditches 5 and 7, and appoint 4 commissioners from Carver County to each of the 2 new ditch. Provide direction on the timing of the 4 ditches, 2 and 3, 6, 9, and 10, and the redetermination benefit public hearings.
Mr. Chair, I just want to clarify for the second thing, it's just a motion to create the, it's not a resolution. We have a resolution to appoint the viewers, but it is just a motion, just looking to appoint those 4. Then we can use that to go into the
Should that
resolution.
be included in the original motion, that we appoint the 4?
I would separate out, I would adopt the resolution first,
Okay.
appointing the viewers, and then make a second formal
So-
action to make a motion.
Need a motion to adopt the facts and findings of the resolution for redetermination of 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10. Is that correct?
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Okay, motion by
Second.
Commissioner Fahey, seconded by Commissioner Workman. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? That motion carries. Now we're looking for new joint ditch commissioners on this new joint ditch 5 and 7. Do we have, are we,
Yeah, I'm previously on 5 was myself, Lynch, and Uterman.
I'll join that one. If that's
So,
okay.
Yep,
Okay,
and then on 7, it would be the same.
Do the
okay,
same
I'll
form.
join that one. Tom, this time you get the short straw. You don't get to get on any ditches.
Thank
You want to make the motion to appoint?
moved.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Workman. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Fahey to appoint the 4 commissioners as ditch people on this ditch, new joint ditches. Any discussion on that motion?
I don't know if ditch people is the proper term.
It works for me. I'm a ditch person. Anyway, any other discussion?
I hope that Commissioner Uterman doesn't use this as a power play because he is a vice chair of a ditch board.
Well, that'll do it, that'll do it.
That'll do it, ditches.
Any other discussion? Hearing none. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion again carries unanimously. And with that, is there a motion to come out of being a ditch authority and reconvene as the county board?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Workman, second by Commissioner Lynch. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? We are now the county board, Administrator Hemsey.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As I mentioned, this is the first packet where we've used our new software called Civic Clerk to put it together. So thanks, we had a pretty good team of individuals internally that selected that. It's taken some time, but we finally got it up and running and it's working pretty darn well. Krista's also working with that directly, so she's becoming the quote-unquote expert, as is Joseph Satry, who's in the audience. So I'll have, why don't you come on up, Joseph, introduce yourself from our IT group.
So which one do we blame? I mean.
It's Joseph. Joseph's the guy to call, put it that way.
Okay.
But I would, as he's calling things up, I would note that there's some quirks to it. One of my pet peeves is, boy, it'd be nice to have page numbers on the
Yes, it would be.
packet,
Yes,
so
it
you
would
could
be.
Yes.
So Chris is going to add that to the PDF version that you can click on and the hard copy. So for the next time and moving
Thank you,
forward.
Krista. Good job.
But you do need to get used to it, just like anything else,
Okay.
to navigate around the system. And it's not, I don't think, overly complex, pretty intuitive. But I did want Joseph to call it up, just kind of show you around. And you.
Show us how
All
to
right,
make it work.
will do. Good morning, Mr. Chair, Commissioners.
First thing I just wanted to walk you through is the public portal that we put out on the website for residents, and then also for you when you go to access the meetings. You may notice we're using the same webpage, was embedded.
Is that on my computer too? No.
It can be if you want.
It is.
You should be looking at agendas. So we've embedded the public portal from Civic Plus into our public website. A couple things I'll just point out right off the bat here. Event categories, we default that to Board of Commissioners meetings, but we are bringing in other commissions, other boards to using this software. So working with the Board of Adjustment, Planning Commission, and Park Commission right off the bat to get them in the software and making good progress there. Search functionality throughout the site as well will bring up search for certain topics, certain presenters, will bring you there. As we look through the individual meetings here, you can come to October 1st meeting. There's a download files button here. If you click that, you can download the entire agenda packet without going further into the system. One thing I'll show you for past meetings, we have added, once the meetings do wrap up, we do add the link to the YouTube video once that is done recording. This is taking a little while to load my past meetings here. There we go. Now, if I click in like the April 16th meeting, there is a button here to go to the event media that will automatically load the YouTube video. So if I'm clicking into the meeting itself, clicking on meeting media, that'll populate the recording of that meeting directly in the window there. Going back to the site, clicking on View Today will bring you down to the current meeting there. Clicking into that meeting, as you may have done to prepare for today's meeting, there's a couple different ways that you can navigate through the packet. So the first way, I'll just show you, clicking on the meeting overview. This will give you kind of the layout of the meeting. If you're clicking in before the meeting, clicking in on any of these topics will bring you to the board agenda RBA item and then any attachments as well. If you're in here during after the meeting or during the meeting, you'll see the motions votes on the side. So that's updated automatically in real time as Chris is going through, taking notes, taking votes of the meeting. So this one, consent agenda, everybody approved that. So we see the yes votes there, marking it as passed, and then noting down everybody that did approve that. To go through the meeting packet itself, clicking on meeting files here, there are options to, again, download the whole packet from within the meeting. You can click on any of the attachments and it'll populate in this field or in the pane on the right there. As well, if you go through click on the agenda packet itself, that'll load the whole packet within this window. You can go through the scroll bar through all 112 pages if you wish. There is, I'll just say when the Civic Clerk system creates the packet, it wraps it up, Krista creates that file, it does automatically bookmark and index the entire agenda. So if you're in this pane, you click on the sidebar and then showing the document outline, it has the agenda broken down to each section here. So if you expand on the regular session, then you want to click on the master space plan, you can see the RBA item that Nick put in for that. So if you just want to pop through to different sections of that. Same concept works whether you download the agenda and working it on your own computer, if you're looking at it in the website as well. So if I were to download this packet here, give that a second.
Mr. Chair, while you're doing this, is this formatable for tablet and phone too?
Yes.
And then if there's presentations like there were today, where do we see those?
So we have added the presentations link as same spot as we did before for current board presentations, but then also within the agenda packet itself, under the other files is where those will be located, then the presentations for the board meeting there. So here my download has completed. I'll just open that file in my web browser. I can click on my outline, on my table of contents outline here. I can page through that, and then works the same way when I open it in Adobe. Clicking through there, again, regular session. If I wanted to look through these, the consent items, same thing, just broken down by each individual topic, item, and then you can work through there. So pretty flexible, depending on how you want to work, interact with the system, whether it's just going directly to the link that Krista sends you every week with the agenda link on there. If you want to download it, work off that on your laptop, tablet, wherever. I think that's what we have.
Thank you. Just a question for you. If we want to download, say, for example, the master plan, item 3.2, if I wanted to download that and save a separate copy and then add 20 or 30 questions, comments, am I able to do that?
Yes. Yes. So, let me find
And then do I have to save that? Because I don't want people to read my questions, for example.
right. So you can come down here, you can save the whole packet if you wish. If you're only looking for the master space plan, you can find this document. The system does separate out those documents or those attachments. You can click on the master space plan here, download, and then it will download it to your machine, and then you can make your notes on that, save it as you would any other file on your laptop, desktop, whatever you're using there. But each individual attachment gets separated out from the packet, and then you can make your notes on there.
Thank you.
And I will just point out that what we had attached to the packet was just the request for board action from the master space plan. The rest of it was in the presentation. So in that case, you would download the entire presentation packet to kind of isolate that documentation.
Joseph, can you make a note to show how that's done?
Do you want me to walk
For
through?
example,
just-
note,
Yeah, give us an example how you would make a note if you're a board member.
on a master space plan, I want to make a note. Find it and show me how I can make a note. Yeah, that's what I said.
Without a pen.
Yeah. Well, you could put a sticky note on your computer, I guess, but if you're going through here, let's find the master space plan. We know that's in the
Further down, it's not.
in the regular
3.2,
session, number 2 here.
No.
If I'm looking through here, if you're using Adobe, you can add a comment here. So add a comment wherever
Oh,
you're making your notes here. I'd write my note to ask Nick about
Lunch.
long-term funding. Add that here. It'll save it. This is only my copy that's on my desktop, so then I would save the file and I'd have all my notes attached with it.
Okay. And then ideally, are we all going to start bringing our laptop and iPads to have at our desk and to make sure that they're
Well, what's the saying? You can lead a horse to water.
properly charged and,
You know, it's up to you, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. If you want to do that, I think it's flexible. On the other hand, this is pretty easy too. So I think, we offer you the option to do that. Totally up to you.
I was not able to print it, so Krista printed it for me, but,
if I make a note and it's on my laptop, whatever, and I want to delete everything, will that be deleted? Because people say that that it's never completely deleted.
If you delete it, we'll get it deleted. If you're not saving it anywhere that anybody else has access to, yes,
Right.
yes.
Well, and as Mark knows, if you make a note, that's technically data.
Yep.
So you can never be too careful with anything.
Right. I'll say,
Throw this away.
if you make a note on your copy here, it's not connected to any other of the versions of the packet that might be on the public website or anywhere
We're
else.
still creating data.
the day that Degler makes an electronic note on this agenda is the day that I'm gonna win the lottery. Okay, so how do I print the damn thing? It was loading to 21% and then it stopped.
It's a big packet.
So it was still loading, it just stayed at 21?
It took me a while to download this one. Yep.
If you have trouble, Tom, connect with Joseph or other IT folks. I know I don't know if you're at home trying to print. That gets pretty quirky sometimes, printing at home.
Save the tree stuff.
Maybe we should test your theory. Gail, can you make a note?
And
What's gonna freeze over? Yeah.
Tom, what I've done is just printed out a page in the
Page at a
document.
time?
No, just print out the page and then write the note on that page if you have a question
right.
versus, and then try to read it electronically, but Krista still mails me a hard copy, which,
She's becoming more and more important.
yeah, with the post office, we're gonna get that Saturday/Monday,
I got mine yesterday.
Tuesday morning. Yeah, I got mine yesterday too.
Well, that's why I print it at home. I don't wait for the mailman.
Oh, I read it on the iPad, but
Right.
still,
Tractor.
done that too.
But as we move forward, it would be nice for all of us to utilize the benefits of the technology. And I know if you're around other board meetings and chambers, you'll notice that they have more integration with the ready to go sort of pad at the DS. Probably someday, maybe when we get to that 2029
broke,
building,
don't
who
fix
knows?
it.
But again, up to you. I think there's a lot of options here, and if you have questions or concerns, Krista and Joseph are the two go-to people. But I think the more you play with it, you'll find it's pretty, again, intuitive and user-friendly and helps you out with communication.
Yeah, I'd like to be able to get through it very quickly electronically. It's a lot easier.
We are trying to see if they can help us with this on the right here. The way that's laid out versus the agenda isn't very intuitive, I would say. The numbering system, if nothing else.
And we did put in a change request for that. So I think what Dave's mentioning is if you're paging through all of the attachments here, it does not tell you in what section of the agenda they're in, whether they're in consent or regular session. So you can still kind of thumb through it, but I would recommend kind of expanding this, looking at the bookmarks.
Like here, it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it goes back to 1.
You want to pay attention to kind of where on the agenda certain items are placed. Find that to be a bit easier to follow.
Yeah, very good though.
Well, County Administrator, this was the longest report that you've had in a long time.
Yeah. Finally, some substance.
So will there be numbers on the agenda?
Yeah, we'll get page numbers on the PDF version and the hard copy that comes out. And will it be page numbers on here, on the online version?
It's the same file.
Okay.
So we need to manually add those kind of as we have in the past to that cover sheet of the agenda.
Yeah, so on the agenda itself, there'd be page numbers here. And then again, we're gonna try and get it lined up better so the numbers match and the index, which would make sense, right?
Indeed.
So working on those things.
Can you email me and give me your name and a phone number and where you can be reached on Sunday afternoon?
Mr. Metz.
Steve, can you remind us again the process and the timing of how it gets to this
Right. Colin?
Well, good question, County Attorney Matz. I would note that I'm updating the policies and procedures related to this whole process. I'm gonna be talking to the managers during their October meeting about that and presenting information on not only the software, but how to present and the whole process behind the agenda packet and preparation and distribution. It is a big task. So we'll get the board more information specifically, but we always tell folks, Monday at noon is a key. Monday at noon, these things need to be finalized. A lot of nice features in here. One of them being if a manager or a division director doesn't meet that deadline, they're not getting in without Krista or I think Nick has the authority. So it sort of forces people to get things done, right? Which is one of the big challenges putting packets together, because when you think about all the work that goes on behind the scenes to put this together and the timing elements and everything else is pretty significant. So
And sorry to interrupt, there's a robust review, checks and balances. So it goes through gatekeepers, so to speak, who are reviewing these RBAs, finance, our office. Oh, here's a suggestion. Dave comes back at the last minute and says, change this or these numbers. So it gets baked nicely into a beautiful treat at the end. But the machination of the making of the sausage is robust.
I do my best to keep you up to speed. We send out the draft agendas, not the whole packet. but typically Monday afternoon, so you'll take a look at that, and maybe have some questions. Of course, now the details there. But it's relatively frequently, things will change. Maybe we'll add something in there, or maybe subtract something, and I typically will let you know, certainly if it's a sort of a controversial or an item that you really need to know about. Sometimes if it's, a consent item that we're just gonna delay, it's not that big a deal, but I usually, for sure, more directly contact with the board chair. So all that's going on behind the scenes up to Thursday afternoon, it goes out for distribution. But I can provide, we will be asking you actually to approve the updated policy. So we'll provide that detail later, once we do some policy updates. I'll throw that in the mix.
Anything else?
Yes, sir.
If not, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Workman, seconded by Commissioner Ruderman. No discussion on that motion. All in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye.
Nobody's opposed. We are adjourned.
Look at that.